Yo, what up, my Shadow Armies? It is I, Shadow Critias, back again with another RWBY versus matchup video. So yes, today I have a really interesting matchup for you guys, and since Volume 8 is coming in the next 4 more days, so I decided to make this matchup, and that is Team RWBY Battle Royale. Ruby Rose, Weiss, Blake Belladonna, and Yang Xiaolong. And this is just my personal opinion about who I believe will actually win in this matchup. And again, the reason why I'm doing this, since Volume 8 is coming, I'm at Volume 8, not 7. That was my fault. And I think I should do this matchup before it comes out. And the reason why, because I always wanted to know who actually would win in a fight between these 4 characters, since we know them and we know who they are, we know their semblance, we know their weapon, we know their abilities, etc. And we always want to know who actually would win in the fight between these 4 characters. And this is the first time I ever done a battle royale for a versus matchup video. This is the first time I ever actually done this, and this is my personal opinion who I believe will win. If you guys believe one of these 4 characters will actually win in the fight, let me know in the comment section down below. This is your personal opinions, and I actually got the feeling that I already know who's gonna be the winner, and I know who's gonna be the first one to go, and I know who's gonna be the last 3 and the last 2. So I'm not gonna waste any time. Let's just go ahead and get right into the other combatants.
Powers and abilities. In order to become a huntress, Ruby trained at Signal Academy, where her skills and abilities far surpassed her peers. Wielding a dangerous weapon like Crescent Rose required strength, balance and adaptability, all of which she demonstrated the night she stopped the robbery of a dust shop in Vale. This led Ozpin to accept her into Beacon Academy 2 years before the usual age of admittance. While at Beacon, Ruby developed skills as a decisive leader, being able to formulate and execute plans with others in order to take down tougher foes, such as the giant Nevermore the team encountered during initiation, and later in coordinated attacks against Roman in an Atlesian Paladin 290. Ruby's sense of balance stands out, particularly in precarious situations like perching on a taut ribbon in Players and Pieces, or running off an exploding airship in Heroes and Monsters. Ruby's fighting style relies heavily on her creative uses of and methods for achieving momentum, relying on a combination of her semblance and Crescent Rose's recoil to allow her to achieve massive impact force, as well as creating slipstreams and even small whirlwinds using her semblance. Ruby also has some skills as a seamstress. According to After the Fall, she made her original outfit herself. Weapon. Ruby is self-admittedly obsessed when it comes to weapons, which shows in her complex design and craftsmanship of Crescent Rose, her high-caliber sniper sight which she designed herself at Signal, as well as her eye for detail when observing other people's weapons and tools. This weapon can transform between a scythe and a sniper rifle and can fire dust rounds in either form with massive force. In Volume 7, after being upgraded, Crescent Rose's blade is now capable of rotation, allowing Ruby to swing her weapon more freely when in cramped spaces such as caves. Semblance. Ruby's semblance, Petal Burst, also called as speed, allows her to dash with an inhuman speed in whatever direction she chooses, often leaving trails of rose petals in her wake. 14. However, this is, of course, at the cost of aura, so Ruby can't rely on it for very long. Within the episode, Ace Operatives, it was stated by Harriet Bree that Ruby's semblance is not like other speed-type semblances. What this means has yet to be elaborated on. Silver Eyes. Through her mother, Summer, Ruby comes from a line of legendary warriors who possessed powerful abilities related to their silver eyes, said to be an extremely rare trait. Upon seeing Pyrrha Nikos die in End of the Beginning, Ruby accidentally uses this power in her grief and petrifies the wyvern. However, she has no memory of doing this other than her head hurting. Later in the episode, Hero describes a fairy tale about warriors with silver eyes who are so powerful that even the grim fear them. In The Next Step, it is revealed that Ruby's powers injured Cinderfall greatly, causing her to lose her left eye and arm, and making it difficult for her to speak for a period of time. Salem states that this is due to Cinder's possession of the Fall Maiden powers but does not explain why this is the case. However, when Ruby uses her powers once again in The More the Merrier, Raven Bronwyn, who possesses the Spring Maiden powers, is not affected despite being in the vicinity, indicating that the Maiden powers themselves do not cause an individual to be affected by Silver Eye powers. This indicates that the reason Cinder was affected was due to her usage of the Grim, through a Grim Beetle glove and a Grim arm. In Alone in the Woods, Ruby has managed to activate her power intentionally after Maria Calavera tells her to concentrate on her loved ones, turning a group of apathy to dust. Through Maria's guidance, Ruby was able to petrify the Leviathan in the episode RWBY, but the massive Grim was able to partially destroy the stone encasing its body before it was destroyed by Caroline Cordovan. Despite Maria's guidance, Ruby still hasn't fully mastered the activation of her powers. In Out in the Open, Ruby attempts to activate her eyes while fighting an alpha megalith but is unable to concentrate with all the chaos. However, in The Enemy of Trust, she quickly and easily activates her silver eyes upon seeing Cinder. Weaknesses. While Ruby is skilled in Grim-based combat, she does not fare as well against human, Faunus opponents. In addition, Ruby is heavily reliant on Crescent Rose. In contrast to her sister, her hand-to-hand capabilities are rather poor, making her easy to be taken down by mere grunts. Without her weapon, there is not much she can do in a fight, and her best bet is to run away with her speed. Her cape, on occasion, has been exploited and used against her, notably during the Beacon initiation when a Nevermore pinned her cape to the ground with its feather spears. In Lighting the Fire, Ruby is shown to be slightly improving in hand-to-hand combat under the tutelage of Professor Ozpin through Oscar Pine. Until she was guided by Maria, Ruby was using the power of her silver eyes in reaction to the death of a close friend or a loved one being in danger, without control on her part. Also, she is vulnerable to attack from behind, as shown when she is knocked out by Emerald Sustre during the Battle of Haven. In Gravity, when Ruby experienced negative emotions after she found out about her mother's fate, she briefly lost control. The power of her silver eyes and her head begun to hurt. Powers and abilities. As the heiress of the Schnee Dust Company, Weiss was raised from youth to strive to be the best in all she did, and combat was no exception. As a testament to her skills, Weiss was on the top ranking of the sparring class during the events of the Vital Festival. Weiss can move quickly and is creative on the battlefield, particularly with ice dust. Like many huntsmen and huntresses before her, Weiss has had her aura unlocked, coating her body with a shield powered by her soul. As long as that shield remains, she cannot be wounded, although she can still feel pain when struck. Weiss's combat style relies heavily on ricocheting off either surrounding surfaces or her glyphs, allowing her to take control of the fight by rapidly attacking from multiple angles to keep the enemy off balance. She has been seen utilizing this tactic with her Arma Giga's summon, rapidly transporting it between glyphs to confuse and ambush the enemy in mid-strike. Weapon. Weiss's weapon of choice is Murtenaster, a multi-action dust rapier. The rapier has a revolving chamber inside the guard, which has 6 slots in total, each of which contains a vial of powdered dust. The revolving chamber is constantly stocked with red, cyan, purple, white, yellow, and blue dust. Weiss utilizes the dust in combat, either in raw form or in conjunction with her semblance to create various effects that suit the situation. When not using Murtenaster as a dust supplier, Weiss utilizes her speed to dodge attacks and her sword to deliver damage through quick thrusts that leave little room for counters. Her fighting style is heavily dust-reliant. Semblance. One of Weiss's most notable abilities is her semblance, which allows her to create glyphs that can be used in a variety of ways. Create a slippery platform to skate on at high speed. Generate mid-air platforms to manipulate her trajectory in the air and perform limited time dilation that can speed up actions, to name a few. With mastery, a Schnee also has the ability to summon avatars of the foes that they have defeated. In Lessons Learned, Winter Schnee specifies that the summoned foe had to have caused the Schnee to push past who they were and become who they are now. In the episode, Heroes and Monsters, Weiss exhibits this ability once, as she unintentionally summons the arm of the Arma Gigas she defeated in White Trailer to protect Velvet Scarlatina. Nevertheless, she struggles to demonstrate this ability for a while, and she says it's the only thing she's been having trouble with, to her sister. She can also summon an avatar of the Borbatusk that she defeated in Peter Port's classroom, as demonstrated when she involuntarily summons it to attack a party guest who offended her in Tipping Point. After being grounded following the incident, Weiss devotes her time to mastering the ability, eventually learning to fully summon the Arma Gigas in 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. She can also cause her summons to teleport and use her glyphs as surfaces to jump off, as demonstrated in Dread in the Air. She has also learned to fully summon a Queen Lancer she fought in Dread in the Air. In the series, Weiss's glyphs have appeared in a variety of colors for unknown reasons. Blue and white normal glyphs have been shown with the base ability to push whatever is within their influence. Black glyphs have the ability to pull whatever is within their influence, and they appear to involve the use of gravity dust, evidenced by Myrtanaster's dust chamber revolving when Weiss makes the first black glyph in the Volume 5 Weiss character short. The time dilation glyph has a gold-colored clock design and involves the use of lightning dust. Summon glyphs are white and have their own unique designs. In Volume 5, using fire dust with her glyphs make them become a red-orange color. Dust. Weiss frequently utilizes dust and occasionally uses her semblance to direct the movement and manifestation of it, such as in Players and Pieces, where she does this to create a curved wall of ice between RWBY and the Deathstalker's stinger. Weiss has shown a preference for ice dust, only switching types if it provides her with an advantage, such as using wind dust against sonic-based attacks, or to create certain types of glyphs such as black or time dilation glyphs. She has used ice dust to trap enemies, create a trail to push enemies from a height, create a slippery sheet of ice and form pointed ice chunks to use as projectiles. Weaknesses. Weiss seems to have limited endurance, as seen in The Emerald Forest, after RWBY and Weiss are forced to retreat from a pack of Beowulfs after a forest fire. Weiss is shown to be panting in exhaustion while RWBY is still fully energized. The biggest sign of her lack of endurance, however, is her inability to take heavy hits. Out of everyone on her team, she has been knocked out the most, such as by Nora Valkyrie with her watermelon hammer during the food fight, and the White Fang lieutenant smashing her head into the ground. Despite her glyphs' durability, they have been demonstrated to be breakable, such as when she summoned 3 black glyphs in an attempt to stop the cargo ship's crash. The ship was falling far too fast or was too heavy for her, causing them to be ripped apart as the ship fell through them. While Weiss may be becoming more familiar with her semblance's summoning ability, larger summons like her Arma Gigas apparently take greater time and effort to manifest, as shown in her duel with Vernal, who kept interrupting Weiss's attempts to bring forth the sword-wielding warrior. This weakness was heavily exploited by Vernal. Powers and abilities. Blake shows high agility, speed, and endurance, as shown when fighting multiple enemies yet maintaining motion and energy without fatigue. She also exhibits a high level of skill when handling Gamble Shroud. She can slash away at opponents with startling speed and deflect incoming machine gun fire using her blade. Blake also possesses remarkable reflexes, as she is able to dodge a nearly point-blank strike from Adam by using her semblance. She is also capable of jumping large distances, leaping from building to building and even on moving cars, as seen in Painting the Town. As a Faunus, Blake possesses the ability of night vision, granting her the ability to see proficiently in the dark, as is shown after shooting out the power during the White Fang faction meeting, using the dark as a means for her and Sun to escape from Roman Torchwick and the White Fang. Weapon. Blake's weapon of choice is Gamble Shroud, a sword that has 3 forms. When sheathed, the weapon is able to slice opponents in 2 with its cleaver-like cover. However, when unsheathed, Blake is able to use both a sword and sheath in tandem against her opponents. It can also transform into a gun. Gamble's shroud was destroyed in combat against Adam in The Lady in the Shoe, the blade being cut horizontally in half by Wilt, and later received an upgrade in Atlas. Using the black ribbon that extends off the weapon's grip, Blake can convert Gamble's shroud into a kusarigama, a grappling hook to swing herself or her friends, or ensnare or tangle her opponents. Semblance. Blake's semblance, shadow, allows her to create shadow clones of herself. These clones push her in the direction of her choosing and can be used to trick and disorient opponents. Blake can use dust to give her clones additional abilities, such as creating a fiery explosion or freezing an opponent's weapon in place. Weaknesses. Aura is finite. If Blake takes too many hits that are shielded by her aura will eventually run out and she will be much more vulnerable. Stubborn. When Blake puts her mind to something, she won't stop until she puts her mind to it, even to the point of losing sleep, food, and other basic needs. Powers and abilities. Yang's fighting style is much more aggressive than that of her teammates. She uses a bare-handed fist fighting style in her weapons, Ember Celica. She is quite agile, able to dodge an onslaught of Ursai and gunfire with ease. Since gaining her prosthetic arm, Young has taken to using its armored surface defensively, shielding herself from firearms, and staving off attacks to gain greater ground on her opponents, incorporating its advantages into her improved fighting style following further instruction from her father, Tai. She is also the physically strongest of the group. Her strength is displayed on numerous occasions, such as when her punch sent a fully grown man several feet into the air and through a glass pillar without the enhancement of her weapon, and in Players and Pieces, where she was able to keep the mouth of a Nevermore open with one arm long enough to deliver multiple shots down its throat. Like all huntsmen and huntresses, Young has had her aura unlocked, coating her body with a shield powered by her soul, which helps protect her, especially when her aggressiveness gets her into bad situations. Even with her aura unlocked, her durability is also noticeably high, as showcased in her doubles match with Weiss against Flint Cole and Neon Cat during the Vital Tournament, where she withstands numerous hits from Neon during the bout's opening stages and powers through the effects of Flint's weapon, knocking him out and securing victory for her side shortly after. Due to the nature of her semblance and the high durability, Young would typically absorb enough hits through her aura to empower herself and then finish the fights with her semblance, which her father criticizes due to her over-reliance in 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. Since the end of Volume 3 and her mental recovery at the end of Volume 4, Yang's fighting skills had improved immensely after training again. Notably, she has incorporated more kicking and dodging. Her new robotic arm also gives her a higher degree of strength, able to send full-grown men flying from the intensity of her blows. During her rematch against Adam, she defeats him despite his superior speed by adapting her combat technique and avoiding attacking him until he uses up the energy from his semblance so that she can disarm him, showing her improved intelligence in combat. Her fight against Elm and Vine with Blake further showcases her more pragmatic approach to battles. She coordinated her attacks with Blake and refrained from using her semblance until the last moment to destroy the ground. Elm had anchored herself to and deliver the finishing blow. Since Volume 3, her use of her semblance overall in battle has gone down, as she tends to activate it only as a last resort. Weapon. Yang's weapon is radically different compared to those used by her teammates. Yang's primary weapon is a pair of gauntlets known as Ember Celica, which can retract into bracelets. Yang's fighting style involves combining her punches with explosive shots from Ember Celica for moderate or short-ranged attacks. Ember Celica has powerful recoil, which Yang can use to augment the force of her punch and accelerate her movements. The force is powerful enough to launch her high in the air. The recoil also reloads and prepares the gauntlets for the next shot. She can also use her Ember Celica as a form of armor when defending against attacks in unarmed combat. After the events of Heroes and Monsters, Young only has one Ember Celica, due to her lost arm. Semblance. As Ruby states during the events of Painting the Town, Yang's semblance, Burn, lets her absorb kinetic energy from every blow she takes and use it to make herself more powerful. This is a form of kinetic energy absorption, with Yang subsequently redirecting said energy against her opponent. As a side effect of her semblance, Yang's eyes turn red and her hair sometimes begins glowing and even becomes covered in flames. Yang's semblance does not make her angry, but anger has led her to want to use it. Prior to the fall of Beacon, Yang often uses her semblance to finish a fight, after absorbing enough damage from blows and overpowering her opponent. However, after the fall of Beacon, she begins to use it far less often and more as a final attack due to her improved training in fighting smarter rather than harder with Taiyang. This is demonstrated during her fights against the bandits and the Grim between Haven and Argus where she doesn't use her semblance to fight. At the end of her second and last fight with Adam Taurus, she uses it to disarm and overpower him with a very powerful punch, finally breaking his aura. Robotic Arm. After losing her arm in the Battle of Beacon to Adam Taurus, she was given a new robotic arm by James Ironwood. She initially refused it due to depression, but she got over it and chose to use it after spray painting it gold to match her remaining Ember Celica. Upgraded arm created by Pietro Polendina, Yang's cybernetic limb possesses great strength. Its power is shown in 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, where a single blow sent her father, a fully trained huntsman, skidding back several feet, even though Tai blocked the attack. It is also outfitted with most of Ember Celica's features, including a shotgun. As seen in Rest and Resolutions, the arm can detach from her bicep, and can even be fired like a projectile. In Volume 7, Yang's arm is modified. It is now larger with more mass and more gold plates around. It more resembles the design of Ember Celica. Weaknesses. Although Yang gets stronger from taking damage, her frustration can be exploited by skilled opponents. This weakness is perhaps best expressed in her very brief first confrontation with Adam, her anger causing her to recklessly charge him and lose her right arm in the process. However, this drawback is more or less under control after her father, Tai, told her to focus on using her opponent's force against them. Aside from that, knocking her unconscious before she can reach her final stage completely negates her semblance. Yang is also noted to be weak against kick-based fighting styles, seen when she struggles against Neo, Melanie, and Mercury Black. As time progresses, however, she gains more control over her anger and has adapted to kick fighters. As seen in her fight with Neo, fighters well versed in dodging attacks can frustrate Yang, making her attacks predictable and easily avoided, rendering the added power with her semblance useless. Her anger also causes her to unintentionally activate her semblance, even if she is not in a battle. Examples of this include her frustrated outburst in Players and Pieces, her moment of anger toward Blake in Burning the Candle, and 2 times in her doubles round tournament fight in Never Miss a Beat. Taiyang somewhat jokingly defines her semblance as basically a temper tantrum, and a liability against stronger and more experienced opponents. If they can evade or outlast the duration of her onslaught, she is left weak and tired and vulnerable to a counterattack. For this reason, due to her improved fighting style in 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, Taiyang tells Yang it's best left as a last resort, rather than a crutch like she uses it in the Vital Festival and due to her over-reliance of using it to win every fight before.
So, yeah, after I record those 4 of their research between these characters, the more I listen to them, the more I feel like one of them actually would win and one of them should be the first one to go to make a three-way fight, and then whoever loses, there will be 2 back to a 1v1 fight. And who I believe will actually be the first to go is Ruby Rose, because by the research of her weakness, she's allied with her weapon and she's not good with hand-to-hand combat, and she allied with a weapon and she's disarmed. She just uses her semblance to fly away so she could get her weapon. And who will be the first person who will be defeated her? It will be Blake. She will be the first one to defeat Ruby because she could use her semblance to trick Ruby, and then Blake could disarm her and take her out easily. Well, it will be an interesting fight though, but if there was like 1v1, Blake would win against Ruby. So in this battle royale, Ruby would be the first one to go, because again, she's too allied with her weapon than hand-to-hand combat, and she's poor against hand-to-hand combat. So Ruby will be the first to go in this matchup. As much I love Ruby, I know I loved her as a character, I know she's my waifu, but in this matchup, Ruby will be the first one to go. Now let's get into since now there's three opponents left, we have Blake, Weiss, and Yang. Now it's going to be 3v1, and I get the feeling that Blake and Yang might team up against Weiss, and this fight will be evenly matched, but who will be the first one to go? Well, this is actually is ironic. Since Blake defeated Ruby, Weiss will actually be defeated Blake, because Blake will be too stubborn, and she's trying to, find a way to take out her opponents for no matter what, and that will also really her downfall. And Weiss does have her glyphs and her semblance, and that will be easier for her to take out Blade, because Weiss knows that Blade's semblance is shadow, so she pretty much will use her glyph and her does to take out Blade, even if she uses her semblance or whatever. And plus, Blade is fast, but not faster than Weiss when she uses her does and glyphs. So pretty much Blade will be the next one to go in this match. She'll probably lose against Weiss, and that's just my personal opinion. And now we'll get into the 1v1 fight that we have Weiss versus Yang. And this is a hard one to tell, because this will be a closer match between these two characters. We talk about Weiss using her glyph and her semblance, her glyphs, her avatar, and her does, versus Yang's hand-to-hand combat, her shotgun gauntlet, and her semblance. And the more damage that Yang is, the more that she could use her semblance by absorbing much damage and attack. So pretty much in this matchup, she gets a lot of damage by both Blake, Ruby, and Weiss, and the more that Weiss give her more damage on Yang, she could use her semblance. And also, Yang knows not to let anyone get her temper, since Yang's weakness is that if her opponent make her frustrated, and that will lead to her downfall. And thanks to the teaching of Tai, she's fully control her anger, she's fully control of that emotion, but she's got to remember not to let her opponents get to her, so she knows that. And Weiss will try to do her best to make Yang frustrated, but that will actually go downfall. And if Weiss using so much does and use her semblance on Yang, that will also be her downfall if she's trying to come up with that plan to make her frustrated. And also, thing is, Weiss can be disarmed because she's also allied with her weapon and her semblance, because we don't see Weiss allied, use her semblance without using her sword. And we have not seen Weiss doing hand-to-hand combat without her sword and her semblance. So pretty much she is weak without her sword, because she allied with her sword to summon her semblance and use dust. And we have not seen her use hand-to-hand combat, or even see her using her glyphs or her summon her avatar without her weapon. So pretty much Weiss is pretty much screwed against Yang. So in my personal opinion, the winner of this matchup is Yang Xiaolong, the strongest member of the team, and I think she's the best of the best member of Team RWBY, because she is the strongest, and she is one of the team who could do the hand-to-hand combat. And so yeah, in my personal opinion, again, the winner of this matchup is Yang Xiaolong. So yeah, guys, let me know in the comment section down below. Tell me what you guys think of this matchup. Do you think RWBY or Weiss or Blake, one of these three, should be the winner of this matchup? Or do you guys agree that Yang Xiaolong is the victor? Let me know in the comment section down below. Again, this is just my personal opinion about who I believe actually will win. And also, again, like, comment, share, subscribe. Links to my GoFundMe page will also be down below the description. You guys know the drill about the donation and support, etc. Again, like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Kneel before Critias. I'll see you guys later.